Today we're talking about Nvidia becoming basically one of the probably the biggest company in the world, passing Microsoft and Apple. Their market cap right now is, jeez, bro. Imagine having such a powerful company that literally the whole economy, like 25% of the economy, rides on your success.
Do you think a guy like that, like the owner of Nvidia, the CEO or whatever the owner?
For all of you, I wish upon you ample doses of pain and suffering.
Do you think a guy like that has like a high degree of autism?
Tomorrow there's going to be another Nvidia, and we're always one step closer to what we always feared. I don't know if it's a fear.
What do we fear?
What do we
AI taking over? Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome to this episode of the Mogul Insider Podcast. We are back at it. Part 2, second filming, same clothes, smelly as hell, but we're still coming together to make this work for you guys because we're behind on filming a little bit. Today, we're going to be discussing...
And we got frosted tips.
We do. Frosted tips! Hey! What's up, my guy?
2004 is in the house right now, baby. What's up?
Shout out KLM.
Today we're talking about Nvidia and Nvidia becoming basically one of the probably the biggest company in the world, passing Microsoft and Apple. Their market cap right now is, guess how much?
Oh, fudge. I couldn't even give you a proper guess.
I didn't do research.
Okay, I have no idea. But we're just gonna throw a number out there. You
5
ready?
billion.
Yeah.
5 billion? Come on.
5 billion.
Calm down, dude. We're talking like just under 200 bill.
I'm talking about money.
That was good. Yes. What are we talking about?
Ready? 3.11 trillion.
No way.
Dude.
That's
Bro,
crazy.
imagine you have a company that market cap is 3.11
I'm
trillion.
sorry. Is it possible that none of us know that we all have chips up our butts or something? Like,
Dude,
is that what's going on right now?
3.11 trillion.
3.11
I never
trillion.
even heard of this
Yeah.
company until like 2 years ago.
What? Nvidia's been around for so long, bro.
Bro, Nvidia has been around
I
for
know.
so long, but they haven't been necessarily
Pop
like
culture.
relevant to like what the everyday
Apple's
things.
3.18. Oh, technically Apple's as
Wow,
of now beating it by
literally.
a little bit. But dude, imagine how crazy. Like you have a company that does $3.1 trillion, bro. All right, let's watch this. Ready, guys?
Thinking about this for a long time. It's very interesting in terms of what it means for the economy, etc. A lot of our tech listeners, forgive me, please. My technical knowledge is not at the level that probably yours is, but I'm going to try my best. There's been a lot of concern in the markets right now around Nvidia after this major event happened. Let's put this up there on the screen from the Wall Street Journal. It recently ascended to become the world's most valuable company, going over Microsoft in terms of its market capitalization, reminding a lot of people of what happened not that long ago during the dot-com bust. As they reference, Cisco Systems in March of 2000 was the last time a major big provider of computing infrastructure surpassed Microsoft, and in retrospect, actually was a major indicator of some of the falling values to come. Now, I want to say, to be fair, the CEO of Cisco at that time, while he said that there are some parallels, said, quote, that the dynamics of AI are different than the previous ones, such as internet and cloud computing. And he has said that he himself is majorly invested in AI and in cybersecurity. So he doesn't think it's necessarily a one-to-one situation. But part of the reason why it's kind of scary is that the exponential jumps in Nvidia are powering huge portions of everybody's retirement that they may not even really be aware of. And it's not just them. It's that the market forces that are driving Nvidia above Microsoft are the same ones that are powering, let's say, Google or Meta or any of these other technology companies who are betting the farm on AI. They're investing massive hundreds of billions of dollars into this. And so if there's any crack in the system, it's not just going to come from Nvidia. It's going to shave, huge amounts of value off all of these technology companies. And when you add those up, I mean, 7 out of the 8 trillion-dollar companies in the world are U.S. US-based technology companies. The only other one is Saudi Aramco. So that means that if you saw any drop in Nvidia, it's not just that Nvidia is so dramatically represented in the S&P 500. So let's say you're a normal investor, your VOO is like a meme online, which is like the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. You're like, I have broad exposure. It's like, well, actually today you don't. Not nearly as much as you think. Let's put this up there on the screen just to give people an example. I mean, you can see there clearly what how far Nvidia is powering the S&P 500 above where things are. And so where we say like, oh, the S&P 500 is up, 25% or whatever over the last year or so. Well, when we look at it though, a huge portion of that is driven by those exponential Nvidia gains. So it's not just that a single stock is so behind the rally in so many public markets, it's that if there were to ever be a crack in Nvidia, it would mean that there is a crack in the whole technology ecosystem, which is almost like a quarter of US GDP at this point. And any significant plunge, we're talking about capital problems, liquidity problems, people's retirements get wiped out. I mean, it's a disaster, as we all found out.
Jeez. Bro, imagine having such a powerful company that literally the whole economy, like 25% of the economy rides on your success.
So I wonder what your guys' minds go through when something like this happens. Like, it seems as though from the nosebleeds, here comes this Nvidia company just flipping all of a sudden surpasses everybody, right? What goes through your guys' minds? Because for me, immediately, my mind goes, what did they do right? Just from a money standpoint, because we are talking money, just from a money standpoint as a company, who did they have to buy out in terms of not just their direct competitors, but also the companies that I guess like it's just similar from the technological space to where it's like, hey, my product is dependent on your product, so we need you for our product to survive, and they just went and swallowed that whole company. So now it's like they own all the pieces in the chain, right? My mind immediately goes like, what business strategies did they have to pull off in order to where they now have secured basically all of the essentials that's related to technology, thus allowing them to surpass because they're just that significant?
So I've actually been watching a lot of clips about the CEO of Nvidia. He goes on some interviews and he'll talk, and he talks a lot about how like he positioned himself very early on in a technology in a field where he wants Nvidia to be an AI company. Mm-hmm. So he basically says, I want the whole company to be run on AI, everything AI, 100%. And he angled that from day one, even at a time where people thought he was crazy. And for the longest time, Nvidia made good products, but they weren't this big, not even close. Like they were probably like maybe like up brushing it up there, but if you look at their like stats over time, they really spiked up over the past couple of years.
So
it's the chip technology that they're working on.
Okay, so funny enough, because that's the only thing I know about Nvidia. I know they make chips, but like I don't know what else they do.
Well, like so example, like game boards, motherboards with game processings, graphics
this,
cards.
Nvidia that. That's the only time I've seen it.
Graphics cards, things like that. So it's a lot of computing processing. What's it called?
Like how your video games
hardware
got better.
Right.
Versus, back in the 90s.
It's all it is. It's just computing processing hardware. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But he just started to investigate a lot more effort and time into futuristic hardware. Because think about it. Think about every single robot that's going to operate in the world. It needs to be operated on like a machine learning software, but also on a chip. Mm-hmm. That chip is made by who? Nvidia. So now Nvidia is getting all these big, like massive, like contracts. And they're positioning themselves in a way where they're literally taking over the market. Now, this is why he's talking about a repeat of the .com boom. Because now the question is this just a boom because AI is such a hype? Or is the technology actually, like, really here to come and stay? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know the inside stuff. But I watch a lot of his, like, his interviews. The guy's very, like, dedicated on the idea of, like, yeah, I can have robots run my entire company.
Do you think a guy like that, like the owner of Nvidia, the CEO or whatever the owner, do you think a guy like that has like a high degree of autism?
That's a great question. I think that's a very valid question. Because I feel like you always hear that when it comes to very smart, accomplished people, they always have some type of, excuse my language, it's like they're indifferent. They're different.
Right.
So I guess that's a good question. Let's see. CEO Jensen Huang. By the way,
Jensen Wang.
By the way, this is Taiwan. This company is Taiwanese, I believe. And if we don't know this already, I'll let you guys know. If we go to war, if Taiwan goes to war, I'm sorry, with China, we have no more chips, or we would be in a very desperate level of gathering chips. So when we were talking earlier about, the economy and blah, 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 and how big of a deal this is, this company has a huge asset to the world as we're getting more technologically developed. They manufacture these things across the pond over there.
Yeah, I mean, this could be used for military equipment. This could be used for military soldiers, like robot soldiers. This could be used for advanced, threat intelligence. This is like...
That's actually a trip, dude. 'Cause
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
It's like they are the masters of creating the human figure in a robot game, right? They are the masters of creating that in a game. How far off are they to creating it in real life
That's what I'm saying.
into an actual
And
robot
he's
figure?
been working on it for years. You're just now
You
seeing
know?
it happen,
Right.
come to life.
That's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
That's nuts. They're ahead of us, way ahead of us. You're right.
They're so ahead.
Crazy.
He's like way ahead.
So I don't know if you guys ever heard this term before, but you know what a savant is?
Yes, it's when someone's like an industry leader, right? Or it's like
So it's somebody who's like, they naturally just, for some reason, they're just their intellect and like, not really wisdom, but their intellect and their ability
always
to
spot
like
on.
memorize information and spit it back out and stuff like that. They just come off as very, very smart people, right? But a person who has an exceptional aptitude in one particular field, such as mathematics, despite having a significant impairment in other areas of intellectual or social functioning. Right? So somebody who's like as smart as that and they have like, an impairment in intellectual and social functioning, like I feel like that kind of just rates high on the autism
he
scale.
talks about it too. He actually got asked like, "Hey, like, how do you do your job?" And he goes, "Nvidia was a lot harder than I thought it would be to build." He's like, "I initially started the company with the idea that I'm just gonna build computer chips and it's gonna be this cool thing that I do with like some buddies, and it just turned serious and serious and serious. And I saw a vision for it and I went for it, but I don't recommend it for anybody. It was very, very hard, and it's very, very hard, and it's very demanding. All I do is work 24/7. So there has to be like, even like if you look at Elon Musk, there's a sense of lack of understanding to what degree is like enough.
Yeah.
Like they just keep going. Like, and they're never like, they just want more nonstop.
So that's actually very interesting.
That level of drive is insane, man.
Well, see, that's actually really funny because I don't know if it's a level of drive.
I think you're like,
I don't
have
think-
a different perception of the world.
I don't think it's a level of drive. I think they simply built the habit of a constant incline. Like, hey, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be in just a constant positive direction. It's part of my habit is constant learning. Part of my habit is finding improvements, expanding. Like this, because they just develop that as a habit.
Yeah.
It's not that they've reached a goal and they're kind of just like, okay, cool, we finally reached our goal. But it's like now part of their daily routine is expansion. So now they just do it as second nature. They don't even know they're flipping taking over the world. They don't even know they're building the largest company in history, right? To surpass everything.
Pretty
that's
aware.
No, I mean,
Now he
they're
is.
pretty much aware,
I think he's
but
pretty
because
aware.
they've developed a habit around a successful system, it doesn't come down to goals anymore. It just comes down to, hey, we wake up and just keep growing because that's all we've done. That's all we know.
All these CEOs, they have one thing in common. I think it's because they're, and this is in a good context when I say this word, delusional. You always hear about like these motivational people on like YouTube, whatever, when they're trying to motivate people, they say be delusional. And you sit there like, usually that word is used in a bad context. Like, what does that mean, be delusional? What you just said is the definition of delusional in this context, which is like all we know is we just work, all we do is we improve, all we do is this, that, XYZ, because they don't know anything else. The way they probably were introduced into this world. Maybe it's their parents or their environment around their home. Luckily enough, they were taught and surrounded by this mindset, and you can't change that when you're implanted that at such an early age. But that's not normal, obviously. You know, for the majority of us, the average person, you know, we think how we think we're realistic. But these people, if it's autism or just delusional, it's working in their favor, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they just don't know anything else.
No doubt. No, I think it's like I said. It's just,
Like, you don't know anything else, and like once you like crack the code on something, like, and it's working really well as a man, you're like, damn, this is like this is what gives
couldn't
me.
ask for anything else.
Yeah.
That's all I really want.
But then you
Should
start
go
to feel,
deep.
Yeah.
you start to
you know?
feel like maybe does it affect their personal lives? Like you said,
yeah, their
they work
personal lives suck.
24/7. Yeah, they don't have good
I wouldn't
relationships.
Say their personal
Maybe
lives suck. I just
Some of them do, but like Elon's
I mean, yeah, of
personal
course,
life
yeah.
doesn't
Well,
exist.
When somebody says like, I don't recommend it for anybody. I don't recommend for anybody to go build the largest company in the world. Oh,
it's not for everyone. Yeah.
how many lonely nights? You know what I'm saying? Like how many nights where he go to sleep and he's just like, I can't sleep anymore because it's just like,
Or you're stressed out.
yeah, like the pains and the anxiety and the
Yeah,
constant this, and I can't go to sleep because I haven't worked out what the problem is, and I gotta go find a solution now. And you know what I mean? Like,
he earned his spot.
The weight loss, the weight gain, the stress. Absolutely, it's absolutely ridiculous.
He looks
right?
great though, by the way. I mean, for his age,
and you're
how old is he?
flipping- Your company is worth 3.11 trillion.
He's probably going to Equinox.
Well, I mean, he's also he's
got
also
the
Taiwanese.
exclusive-
You know, they don't
Bro, these
they don't
Asians
age like
have
the rest of us.
amazing genes. Amazing.
Yeah, I think
Whether you're
they shop
50
at Uniqlo.
Whether you're 50 years old or 12 years
the-
old, they all look like they're 12.
That's the trick, huh?
You know, I think it's really funny, dude, because Asians will like they'll age very slowly, and then it's like right when like they hit like 52, it's just like instant switch. You know, where it's like,
Because I think even when they're like seniors, they
well,
still look young.
I don't know what like the specific age is, but I feel like it's just all of a sudden overnight. It's just like all of a sudden it's just like,
They
boom,
look
Hits him
good.
like a truck or what?
Yeah.
Oh.
you know.
I want an Asian baby, bro. I want to marry an Asian lady and just, pass my genetics on, mix
One of
up
4
with East
wives,
Asia.
dude. You
4
know?
wives.
Why do you think we're allowed 4 wives? Where we get 4 different cuisines, my guy. You know.
Bro, these Asians, they just look so good, man. They look so good.
My guy was like, I'm not saying nothing about it.
He's like, oh, he's married. I'm not.
I got the best cuisines, bro. I'm good. Alhamdulillah. All right.
Oh yeah, Asian cuisine.
Lean cuisine. He gets frozen food. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you know what's better than well, I'd rather be married than single because the single life cuisine is unhealthy.
We're still talking about cuisines.
Let's go back to Nvidia.
We're talking money, right?
Yeah, we're talking money, right? No, I watch a lot of his like because his come up is like recent,
Yeah.
I mean, but he was always a big company, but it was just like crazy how like they took over. Plus, it's crazy because like if you think about it, Apple's a consumer company, like
Yeah.
Microsoft is consumer. Nvidia is in a very different like field of its own. Like,
So that's what I was saying. Like, as a business strategy, what did they think of in terms of creating the angle to where it's like, hey, we don't necessarily sell the product direct to consumer, but it's like not every one of Apple's products. Apple's now developing their own chips, but it's like every one of like these computers requires our chip. Every one of these devices requires our chip. It's like here we are all consuming and using Nvidia, but we just don't know. That's how essential they've become, right? And so that's kind of like where it's like my business mindset is just like, how do we use that same mindset and apply it to our everyday? What is your what's it called? Is it Intel?
no, yeah, I was just curious to check what my Mac is.
Oh, yours is an M1. Yeah, no doubt yours is the M1 because you're a flipping bougie boy. So M1 and M2, those are the chips that Apple has been developing, right? And I'm not necessarily saying they're going to try to like push away from Intel because the rest of their computers have Intel chips, but they always promote the M1, M2 chips as like better for like editing and production and stuff like that because a lot of people are moving that direction. So they're like
for
you
sure.
know.
Let's continue the video.
in 2008. So this is something that a lot of people that I know that are skeptical are starting to get worried about what happens here should anything happen with this single company.
Yeah, and it seems to me like the question isn't whether AI will ultimately be a transformative technology and whether these chips are going to continue to be central to a lot of new tech development. But I mean, that's the thing, like with the dot-com bubble. It's not that the internet wasn't transformational.
Correct.
It's that you had a lot of, dumb company ideas, a lot of froth in the early days, and a lot of money just being thrown at absolutely anything, whether it had a real market, whether it had a real path to, earning revenue and becoming profitable or not. And, you see this with a lot of new industries when they're first developing. Some things will succeed and many other things will not make it and crash, even though they were in the right place sort of at the right time. There were a lot of early personal computing brands that are no longer around, even as the PC obviously became really transformational technology. So, what do I know? I'm a layperson. I'm just looking at this from the outside. But having lived through the, 2000 and that crash, it does seem like it could rhyme. Like we could be seeing a very similar dynamic where there's so much hype around AI. There's so much money being thrown at it. There's so much projection of what it will mean in the future that obviously Nvidia's price right now, like doesn't reflect where they are right now today. It's all based on people's projections of what it could be in the future.
Yes.
So if anything rocks that, if it doesn't come to fruition to be as transformational, or if a lot of these companies, startup companies and other larger players that are incorporating this and betting on this for their future success, if it doesn't work out in the first iteration, there could be massive exposure here. So I definitely think it's an important thing to keep an eye on.
I'm worried about it. I mean,
He's worried about it, guys.
He's hella worried about it.
He's so worried.
Why do you feel like this source is kind of pessimistic about this?
I don't know. I don't like these people.
I don't like these people.
It's just weird, man. This guy was like,
These guys are interesting. Yeah.
they're interesting. This guy was like, would you rather have marijuana and carjacking
the previous
or what was
video?
the other option? The dude made a weird correlation.
So she's making the argument that right now the stock and everything, the $3 trillion is all like fluff. It's basically like potential revenue or potential that we haven't really seen yet, and whether or not Nvidia is going to actually come up to the stand and deliver. I think they'll make it. I really do. I think they'll make it. I think this was the same conversation they had when Tesla was first a thing and Elon Musk took over. I don't know if you remember the headlines back then. It's crazy. It was like, oh, this crazy guy's trying to make an electric car. Maniac. Like, who do you think you are? They betted hella against him.
Yeah. Well, they said the same thing about iPhone. When people were used to Blackberries, they couldn't believe there's a thing called a touch screen, and they betted against it. And the Apple stock was, good in, like, what was it, 2008? People were like, should we invest in the Apple stock? Should we invest into this new concept called a touch screen? And I remember even when I was, like, still pretty young, and I even get reminders sometimes on my phone about back then, like, people turned against it. And they said, no, BlackBerry's going to stay. Well, we're all using Apple now. Everything's Apple. And if it's not, it's still a touch screen.
Yeah, I will tell you though. So she is talking about something. So I'm in cybersecurity, so I do see this a lot. Where like in cyber, AI is being thrown around heavy, which is like, oh look, I have AI in this tech. I have AI in this tech. I got AI in this, AI in that. And then like when you really dig deep into some technologies, you recognize something. You realize that they're not actually AIs. They're just very advanced machine learning concepts and technologies. It's very advanced machine learning technology, which is really cool. But at the end of the day, you're still putting input to receive output. So you don't have true AI, whereas like they call it general AI, which is like something that's walking and talking and thinking on its own. That doesn't exist just yet. It's a world we're trying to get to. Right now, even ChatGPT, all these machines that you see, what you're seeing is just massive machine learning softwares in play. It's a lot of data being gathered and, obviously learned from and produces some output, which, again, I still repeat, crazy technology, right? Don't get me wrong. But that's why they're talking about a dot-com boom. Like, is this another dot-com boom? Because,
I think so.
Because the tech itself is amazing, but what we have in the market is not necessarily what's actually advertised or what the consumer thinks they have. So a lot of people may look at ChatGPT and be like, oh, this is like real AI. It's like actual general AI has way more capabilities than anything that we see here today.
Yeah, and then there's absolutely no doubt about it. that similar to what you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of people who want to come out with their own, AI apps and websites and softwares and this and that, and it's all just going to be a bunch of bullcrap because they're trying to jump on the hype train, try to profit off of it a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tomorrow there's going to be another Nvidia, and we're always one step closer to what we always feared. I don't know if it's a fear. If
What
it's
What do we fear?
What do we want?
AI taking over?
robots taking over. And
Yeah.
killing
What are your
humans.
thoughts on that? Spitball me right there.
I think
All
it's
right.
going to happen.
Robots taking over?
Yes. Real or not?
Absolutely impossible.
How?
Impossible. Why?
Tell me.
Absolutely impossible.
Explain.
Bro.
Debate.
Yes. Go ahead.
I think, like you said, even to the extent of AI that it's going to get to, it's input that was inspired from humans. You know what I'm saying? Similar to how, no matter how advanced your phone or your whatever camera, the most advanced camera in the world, no matter how advanced it is, it's still like
Made by.
it's still not even that. It's still a billionth of what the eye is capable of. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, bro.
So if we're
100%.
talking about from the perspective of visual, right? Visual abilities. What the most advanced camera is literally not even a fraction of what the eye is capable of, right? Of what the creation of God is capable of.
Amen.
Why would we ever assume that there's going to be a point in which artificial intelligence will ever grow beyond the human intellect?
There's no creation better than God's creation. We
No,
can't
but
create
you
anything.
said it will happen. We'll take it back.
Ah, I was just
remember.
joking.
No, he was just saying it's his biggest fear.
It's my
Or
biggest
our
fear,
biggest-
for
our
sure.
biggest fear, for sure.
I think we will create something scary, but we created it at the end of the day. We can't just like turn it off with a button. Like we
Yes.
created it.
Just turn it off with a button. Imagine you just button boof. All right, AI ceased to exist.
But at the end of the day, wait, we're talking about superstitions about the government. That's kind of the recurring theme. The last two podcasts we've all done together, something about like how we don't trust the government, and I think that's just going to be a thing that's going to continue. There's going to be mistrust in the government, and that's going to increase. Do you think that the government might be behind actually depopulating? Is that a word?
Depopularizing?
Killing us.
What? Wait, well, hold on.
one way they do it is already through our foods and medicine, and the next thing you know, it's going to be through AI. We're not going to see it, but remember, like I said last week, they're always one step ahead. So, do you guys think they're going to create something to slowly kill us,
Well, yeah, I mean,
so we
like,
don't have
chips
overpopulation?
in your brain.
So actually, funny
Yeah.
enough how you
Yeah.
mentioned that, because that was the next thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I don't
Because
Don't say I don't. I say something.
think. Oops, sorry.
yeah,
That's
because like
that's smart. What I said.
based
Right?
on to answer your question,
I don't know, guys. Do you think Abraham is smart?
Abraham Lincoln.
Talking
Okay,
about
continue.
money.
To answer your question, like, will they use AI against us eventually?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You kidding me?
That's what I'm saying.
Because it starts off as physically strong arming someone,
Yeah.
right? AKA Christopher Columbus and the people who came with him, right? They physically just strong armed everybody, and then it goes to weaponry, advanced weaponry, and then strategy, and then systems.
Wait,
and
don't forget nuclear bomb. We created
and
that.
then eventually nuclear bombs, right? So whatever the next power, whatever the next weapon is, yeah, of course the government's trying to get their hands on it as soon as possible, or they can use it against who.
And guess who has the button to probably turn it off? Just
You
like
do.
how they have the button. No, we don't. It's going to be the government. Just like how they have the decision behind dropping a bomb. Obviously, the general population.
I will tell you
Can't
though
do
one
that.
thing too, right? There's another argument that a lot of consumers don't see. Just as much as technology is becoming mature and more prevalent in our day-to-day life, it's also becoming more accessible and easier to use for your regular consumer. So just as much as we believe that governments might attack us, there's going to be actually a lot of bad actors that have no connections to governments but militias, things like that are now going to become a legitimate issue for your day-to-day consumer that wasn't before. Because now, for whatever reason, if somebody wants to hack you, or let's say you one day in 50 years you have a chip in your mind, somebody doesn't like you, right? They hack into your chip, you're out, right? Like I was watching this video recently of this. So in our world, we have something called penetration testing. Penetration testing is when you hire an ethical hacker, somebody who knows how to hack, and you tell them, hey, here's whatever amount of money. I want you to try to hack this company. And that company's usually signed off on the idea, so they know what's happening, right? So they test their systems. So it's like, imagine like from a physical component, you have like a building, you have bodyguards. You're like, all right, guys, try to attack us, see if you can get through.
Yeah.
This guy was doing it for pacemakers.
What's pacemakers?
Stuff that, the technology for your heart.
Oh.
To keep your heart pumping, right? Isn't that like pacemakers do
Wait, so
technically?
you're trying to
Yeah,
keep
so-
yourself alive?
So a pacemaker is what they will put in, right on one of the chambers of someone's heart, and then it literally keeps pace of it. It helps the heart pump. Yes.
Yeah, a
Wait.
pacemaker is a small battery-powered device that prevents the heart from beating too slowly. So basically, it keeps your heart pumping.
Literally.
So he found a bug in one of the company's devices that if somebody hacked that bug and was able to deploy it, he would command the chip that's in your pacemaker to make your heart go poof and explode.
Oh,
It's a real thing.
that's crazy.
No, this is, by the way, this is a real thing that's happening already.
Yeah.
So the conversation is more than just, governments. Conversation is like, oh, shoot, like what else? What other things am I opening myself up to?
Wow.
And that's why the whole concept of like cybersecurity is becoming so prevalent, because it's like, how do I protect myself from all these things, right? But I think the whole, to bring it all back here, the rise of Nvidia, huh?
Go ahead.
No, I'm just what's up?
I was gonna do a countdown, and then we're just gonna go straight into. Thank you, today's sponsor. The sponsor of today's video,
Wait, what?
SignX Link. For all of your cybersecurity needs, call
That's hilarious.
SignX Link. Anyways, go ahead.
That's funny.
Back to Nvidia.
That's so funny.
No, but bringing it back to the whole Nvidia thing, what they're working on is legit. What they're working on is like, it's obviously the future. We're all gonna eventually get there, but I don't personally think AI will ever take over the world, because at that point you're talking about developing a conscious, and nobody's capable of that except Allah, and that no human will ever attempt that. And if whatever does, and God forbid somehow somewhere something like that's actually happening, I feel like Judgment Day will be around the corner, right? So I don't think technology to that degree. Will it shift the world? Will it change the world? Will it
Yes.
change the way we live? Yes, and yes. Will it expose us to a lot more threats than we have today? Yes. Will it give more control to bad actors? Yes. But will we adapt and figure it out like we always have? Probably.
I don't know. I mean, it depends. You got to be a kind of people like us that are always thinking ahead and trying to protect ourselves, as opposed to, sometimes I feel like everyone's naive and just like stabs themselves whatever vaccine the government tells them to take.
I don't know. I just think when people think of like AI, they think of like this movie and it's like the whole world is at war and everything's destructed and there's no place to live where it's safe and life just sucks.
No,
you
in
know?
that case, Judgment Day is around the corner.
No, it's not. Like, we're not gonna go through that. Like,
No.
it's just more so the conversation needs to be more so happening around the idea of like my privacy, where's my data going, etc. All this kind of stuff that your normal person doesn't think about.
By the way, if you've ever been to Asia, I heard they already do this in China. Like,
What?
there's cameras everywhere. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
privacy issue. I was in Taiwan. There's the same thing. Everyone's talking about how data is just like open for
Those
everyone.
guys have always been ahead in that game.
So we can look at them as an example, like foreshadowing what's going to become or what's going to happen here in the United States, because we're not necessarily at that level yet. But, if there's already a real world example, then probably possible.
Obviously, as you guys can tell, BB knows a lot about technology.
I have iPhone. Your Bluetooth device is connected.
Oh wow. Well, anyway, guys. So for those of you that are watching, would love to know your thoughts on like what's going on with this whole Nvidia thing. I think it's interesting. I'm the only guy out of the three here that's in tech, so obviously I don't know if you guys can tell, but that's why it was my inspiration to talk about this. BB, thanks for taking a bullet for the team. I know this conversation was brutal for you.
Yeah, I'm sweating, bro.
You're like,
I'm sweating.
oh, thanks for the cookie. Why are you sweating, bro?
I don't know, man.
It's not that hard to talk about, man. Just spit out the facts, man.
It's like
Just
it's
speak
a
your
hot
mind.
day, man.
Yes.
It's a very hot day.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
this
guys.
guy is the next CEO of Nvidia.
No, you know what? At your old crib, the pool would have been right there, dude.
Oh, some different vibes.
Hey, what happened?
You
Like
know?
before I joined, there's like you guys used to do it on the couch. That was pretty cool. How
Try to get on
come?
the couch with us, huh? KLM, dude.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.